Hey everybody, it's Norman Will back for another episode of Behind the Garage Door. Today we're going to take a short trip right on the other side of I-4 on Park Road and check out a really cool truck that is very special to Plant City. Figure if we're going to go see a cool red truck, we should take a cool red truck. All right, so we made the really long trip, maybe a half a mile or so from the dealership, right over here to Plant City Fire Department, Station 3. Captain Jackson, thank you so much for taking the time to show us this really, really cool fire truck. We're gonna go ahead and see what's behind Plant City Station 3's garage door. All right, Captain, so we've gotten inside here, and this is an absolutely beautiful display that has, been built into your new building here. Tell me everything that you know about the history of this fire truck.
Well, originally this was one of our frontline trucks back in 1927. It's a 1927 American LaFrance. They bought it as one of the main fire engines back then in 1927. I think they paid around $4,000 for it back then.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, back in those days it was. And it ran until around 1970. It was still running as a truck in 1970. They ran it for like 30, 40 years. And then we stepped up, of course, to newer stuff from then.
So this was one of the very first fire trucks in Plant City?
It'd be pretty close. They were established before then. They truly had the horse and buggy drawn.
Okay, so this is one of the very first fire trucks in Plant City in 1927, and they ran it all the way up until 1970.
Somewhere right around there, yeah. It ran for like 40 years or something. They had it running.
Holy wow!
And that was responding. We ran it for a long time after that on parades and when we had open houses. That was one of the big attractions when we did an open house for the fire department. We'd have it parked out there, and we'd take kids around town riding on it. We had a loop we did, and we'd ride kids around, and they were able to, ride in the back, and we had it set up as a parade truck back then.
So it's an American LaFrance.
Correct.
1927. Now, is that how? I'm assuming it's been restored. This hasn't been, everything since 27.
Most everything on it is original. We've had to buy a couple things, and they got original. One of them.
So when you do a Behind the Garage Door episode in a fire department, there's going to be a few interruptions every once in a while. But let's get right back to what we were talking about, the restoration on the truck. So that can't be original paint.
No, it was repainted somewhere, I don't know what year, somewhere around the 70s to 80s or something. We had it repainted.
That's still an old paint job. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, and we've had it, waxed or something here and there. The difference is though, like you can't wax it like a normal vehicle because it's only for whatever they did because of the type of paint it had to go in there.
It's probably lacquer.
It's like a one coat deal.
Yeah.
And if you waxed on it too much, you're going to take the paint off of it.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that.
And so going back to the other part too, like most everything on there is original. There's a few things that we've had to replace over time. The radiator cap popped one time because of the glass that's in there. It broke. The bell, replaced it. The steering wheel was replaced because people don't realize that they don't have power steering back then. So people get up there and try and do it, and they try and manhandle it, and the steering wheel was actually the original wood, and then it shattered, so we had to get it redone. Our shop did that.
And it's right-hand drive.
Yes.
It's right-hand drive.
And it's the clutch and everything's on it weird. The gas pedals are all in different places. The gas pedal, the clutch, it's all in different places than normally. And there was only 3 or 4 of us that were actually cleared to drive it,
yeah.
Most everything on it is pretty much original. The only difference is when we go around and look around, like in the back, is where the hose bed used to be. We put benches in there from when we use it as parades.
Oh, that makes sense.
We took those out when we put it back on display. We tried to take it back as much as we could. Funny thing is, the pump still works. It just leaks like a sieve whenever you put it in. It's pretty neat.
I was going to ask you, is it still functional?
Well, they drained all the oil.
Yeah.
Drained all the fluids out. But yes, it still functions. We did hook it up one time, and it leaks like crazy, but you can still hear it kick over into pump gear. By lifting the lever, you would kick it over, and you could hear it change into pump gear. and you put it in gear and it would still run.
So she can still put a fire out.
Oh yeah, it probably could.
Siren still works, the bell works, everything
on
works.
It still works.
Throw a battery in it, the lights work.
One of the neater features on it is like there's a red light on the front.
Yeah.
When you turn on the lights, it has when we had batteries in it, it would just say fire across the front and everything.
That's
like that.
cool.
So that was a pretty neat little feature. Spotlight's not very bright, but
It's a spot-ish light.
Yeah. But everything else on it, pretty much original. It's got some neat features on it. It's a chain-driven vehicle, so it has chains on the rear wheels. That's what drives the truck, and the braking system only works off the back of the truck. So in its final days, we took it out of commission because the brakes started going out on it, and
You can't go to Napa and pick those up.
No,
either.
we actually put to get it to some places we usually. Oh, I forgot all this stuff was coming.
Sure, one on scene will be out investigating. Sure, they have one person on the ground.
So every once in a while, when you're doing a behind the garage door at a fire department, not only did you get interrupted a few times by the radio, but the guys actually had to go on a call while we were here. So thank you for doing what you do. We really do appreciate that,
Yes,
Captain
sir.
Jackson. Absolutely. So we were talking about the brakes and how there's no front brakes on the truck, only back brakes, and it's chain driven. Now, does that have a
Yes.
transmission?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It has transmission and everything. And it's just it drives it on the back. If you got it and looked underneath everything, you'll see
Okay.
that it has an in-case sprocket that drives the chains and everything on there.
I got you.
So and the brakes. At the end, we ended up having to get, just to make it work, we got some old fire hose and put it on his brake pads for a while. So it worked to get as a temporary thing back to us here and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so what's the engine that's in it? It's massive, but what is it?
It's a 6-cylinder.
Okay.
6-cylinder, I don't know exactly the type it is, but
Okay.
it's a 6-cylinder.
Straight six?
So yes, if you look inside of it, we can lift the hood up and everything. It's a pretty neat looking little engine. It shows you when it's running. You can see the pistons actually driving in it.
Oh,
and,
wow.
On the covers, it has the American LaFrance stamp on there that looks like an old Maltese cross, which goes with the fire departments.
We saw that,
So,
yeah.
yeah, and it's on the front. So it's a neat looking engine. You see spark plugs and stuff on it. They don't work anymore. They've reconfigured it a little bit. However, mechanics do their job to make stuff work. But it still looks. It's still mostly all the original parts on it and everything.
So cool.
The only thing is not original. I'm pretty sure the exhaust was changed out. We started having leaks and everything, so they had to change it out for some of the stuff in there on the manifold cracking.
So 97% of the entire truck is
Oh yeah,
still
yeah.
original.
Most all of it is all original.
And if you put fluids in it and some gas in it and a battery, it'd probably fire up. Is it crank start?
No, it's not.
Okay.
We switched over to a different type of magneto system over a period of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a push button start thing. But you got to get the magnetos and the throttle and everything all lined up just perfect.
And the choke and the gas. It's science to start one of these things.
Yes, it takes an art. To do it.
It's an absolute art form.
Yeah, if you didn't start it right, it would flood. You'd have fuel pouring out from the bottom, and you'd have to give it time for that fuel to clear out, and then you'd have to try and start it again.
So, Captain, you said that this building's been here about a year?
Yes, this station opened up about a year ago, January.
So, whose thought process to incorporate this section of the building into the design?
The station was almost designed around this truck.
That's cool.
They wanted to, because we had this truck forever. We had it displayed. Then we put it in storage for a period of time.
Okay.
And then one of our chiefs was a big antique guy, so we brought it back out. And then when we started designing the station, they wanted to design it around this. We've seen a couple other stations that had older trucks like this as a model. When you come by at night, when the lights are hitting it,
Beautiful.
It looks pretty sharp from outside. So the station was kind of designed around it.
Captain Jackson, thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you for telling us everything about the American LaFrance, one of the original fire trucks here in Plant City, Florida. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to head back to the dealership and wrap it up. All right, I told you that was going to be really, really cool. Thank you so much, Captain Jackson, and all the guys over at Station 3 for being so cordial and so nice to us while we were there checking out that beautiful truck. And thank you also to all the people over the years who have taken such good care of it so that it could be put on display for everybody to see even today. Make sure you check out all of our links below, our other platforms, and make sure you're here next week, Thursday, for another edition of Behind the Garage Door.
Stingray Chevrolet. Relax, enjoy the difference.